Hong Kong health authorities have activated their most serious response level after an outbreak of a new type of viral pneumonia in China.
A man has died from a new pneumonia virus in the central Chinese city of Wuhan. 41 other people have been diagnosed with the virus that investigators say resembles SARS.
There is now a report from the Center for Disease Control that they have the first U.S. case of that coronavirus.
Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is confirming the first case of human-to-human transmission in the United States of the novel coronavirus. The World Health Organization has declared the coronavirus outbreak a public health emergency of international concern.
61 passengers have now tested positive for the coronavirus on the stranded Diamond Princess ship.
New York now confirming its first case.
New York is one of a handful of states that now declared a state of emergency due to the coronavirus. Governor Cuomo deploying the National Guard to New Rochelle in Westchester County, just outside of New York City, where more than 100 people have tested positive for COVID-19. The WHO has formally declared the coronavirus a global pandemic.
We're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
Europe has now become the epicenter of the pandemic.
EU leaders now have agreed to close Europe's external borders to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
China now reporting 0 local new infections.
The U.S. now has the most cases in the world, more than 81,000. Worldwide cases have now topped 500,000.
Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, has tested positive for coronavirus.
Total global confirmed cases right now have now topped 1 million.
The CDC recommending Americans wear masks in public.
New York State now has more coronavirus cases than any other country outside the U.S., according to the latest figures.
Cuomo is ordering residents to wear face coverings in public where social distancing is not possible.
The United Kingdom now has the highest COVID-19 death toll in Europe.
The United States continues to see increasing cases in so many areas of the country, including the Sun Belt, the South, the West.
President Trump tonight is escalating his push for schools to reopen.
The top health official in Tulsa who says President Trump's rally last month likely contributed to a spike in COVID cases.
Major League Baseball is returning this week. Over 2/3 of Miami Marlins players have tested positive, forcing the league to postpone 14 games and adjust the schedules of 6 teams.
Another COVID scare in Washington after a Republican congressman tested positive before he was supposed to travel to Texas with the president.
After House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tonight announcing a mask mandate on the House floor after Gomer tested positive.
After a house party near Beverly Hills, the mayor of Los Angeles is now threatening to cut off power and water to anyone who hosts a large gathering.
Hundreds of thousands of bikers have arrived in the city of Sturgis, known as the City of Riders, for one of the world's largest motorcycle rallies. It's stirring anxiety among some who fear the rally could trigger a COVID-19 outbreak in the state.
It's class dismissed at UNC Chapel Hill, following a weekend of packed parties and growing COVID outbreaks. The university is reversing course, canceling all in-person classes.
The United Kingdom is entering a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson announcing a set of restrictions, including that restaurants and Britain's famous pubs will have to close at 10.
The death toll in the U.S. tops 200,000, the highest in the world. Worldwide coronavirus deaths have passed the 1 million.
The coronavirus pandemic has brought the U.S. economy to a standstill, causing unemployment to triple in less than 2 months. President Trump and Congress have already passed nearly $3 trillion in economic relief, including an estimated $700 billion in payroll protection funds. They say it's aimed at rescuing the country's 30 million small businesses, which make up half the U.S. economy.
Program manager Mark Person with the Pima County Health Department says this new spike in suicides was first reported at the start of the pandemic. In this graphic from the health department, you can see the increase in week-to-week numbers from February to March.
Now the latest CDC report shows higher numbers of people are in mental health crisis and thinking about suicide alongside the pandemic.
What we're seeing is increasing rates of a whole range of mental health problems, anxiety, depression, for sure. Many kids, unfortunately, we're starting to see increased rates of suicidal ideation or thoughts.
While Mr. Biden said he would be willing to get a vaccine, he would not require it for all Americans.
I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand it be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power. Just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide.
I'll do a little test here today. A lot of people are saying they're getting headaches and stuff and wearing masks that they're requiring us to wear pretty much everywhere we go. And I'm going to test oxygen level under a mask using an OSHA-approved air quality monitor that tests for oxygen levels, hazardous gas levels, LEL, CO, NH3, H2S, stuff like that. This monitor's bump tested every day. It's calibrated every 30 days. OSHA requires 19.5% oxygen to work in a space. Look it up. Normal oxygen levels is anywhere from 20 to 21, right in that area. So I'm gonna do a little test here. I'm gonna put the sampling tube at the corner of my mouth, and I'm not exerted, I'm just standing here. So we're gonna put it right here. That's going straight to the air quality monitor. And we'll see what the oxygen level is. So I've got 20.5, okay, 20.6. That is the oxygen level without the mask. Put the camera down, put a mask on. Okay. Do the same passcode in the same spot. You can hear the alarm going off. That means that there is a hazardous atmosphere. And we'll see what the levels are. 17.4. 17.5, it's starting to go back up. Okay. It's going to clear at 19.5. And that's what is required to work in a space. So if you're wondering about headaches and stuff like that, there's why. Because you're not getting enough oxygen. If you're exerted, working, running, whatever the case may be, it's only going to get worse from there. So, it is what it is. You're not going to see this on the news because they don't want you to know this on the news. So take it for what it's worth.
This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The more people in society that get vaccinated, the more chance there is of eradicating the national COVID pandemic. It's really important to know that the vaccines have all been through and met the necessary safety and quality standards.
Denmark is one of the first to promise a digital vaccine passport. For these frontline workers, that could mean more freedom.
Vaccine passports, a ticket to a life of foreign travel, nightlife and leisure, or a path to social exclusion. Governments and developers around the world are exploring whether vaccine passports, to identify those inoculated against the coronavirus, could help to reopen their economies.
As the number of people vaccinated against COVID in France grows, so does talk of a vaccine passport to travel. This French politician says such a document could also be used to visit restaurants or theatres.
Those who are vaccinated should be able to resume activities. A vaccination passport would show that a person is no longer in danger themselves and no longer a danger to others.
Green passports will be accessible through the Health Ministry's website and a mobile application, which will allow eligible Israelis to move freely.
To achieve herd immunity in the state of Israel, we're talking about vaccinating around 70%. The green passport is a means that we want to use to manage daily life as the number of recovered increases.
In managing this new daily life, green passports will grant a waiver from current virus restrictions and permit access to eateries, shopping centres, hotels, and entertainment and leisure.
Travel immediate vaccine passport, a digital document that would show proof of vaccination for COVID. Tech companies and countries are racing to develop it. The challenge here, creating one that's secure, universally accepted, and smartphone friendly. And as it turns out, that's a tall order.
Around the synthetic RNA, although you can basically do anything with synthetic RNA, DNA. It's like a computer program. So, I think with effort that's not too crazy, you could probably stop aging, reverse it if you want. You can basically do it. You can turn someone into a freaking butterfly if you want with the right DNA sequence.
It's called the RNA vaccine. With RNA and DNA, instead of putting that shape, you put instructions in the code to make that shape. So the Gates Foundation, along with a great number of partners, are looking at these different efforts. We've never created a new vaccine in less than 5 years.
Good morning, Miss Garcia.
Good morning, Sunshine. I miss you. I could kiss you right now.
Someday.
Curfew is now in effect. All unauthorized citizens must stay indoors.
Tensions rise as we enter the 213th week of lockdown.
Grim new reality emerges.
COVID-23 has mutated.
Beginning thermal scan. Thermal scan normal.
A horrifying new development today.
Immunity confirms the virus attacks the brain tissue.
Hey, whoa, I'm immune!
Worldwide death toll rises to over 110 million.
All infected Americans are being forced into quarantine camps.
Remember, stay safe, sane, and sanitize.